riots, when he had moments where he could be that person. We saw him at CNN town halls when
there's
he
the president
and there he
and
is.
the first lady arriving, and I think we should just listen and let them pay their respects.
He was a hockey fan. He loved the New Jersey Devils. He had a girlfriend. He gave up his life trying to protect senators and congressmen, many of whom, congresspeople, many of whom do not believe that the man who ordered the mob of tens of thousands of people down to the Capitol to do something about the vice president, to do something about the senators, to do something about the congresspeople, the man who ordered the mob to the Capitol to fight like hell, or you're not going to have a country anymore. Many of those same congresspeople and senators do not believe that that man should be held accountable. He was a hockey fan. Two other officers subsequent to the invasion who answered the call of the country during the invasion have subsequently committed suicide. OJ is correct. He was a hockey fan and he was a hero. And a maggot bashed in his skull with a fire extinguisher is what we are told so far. But totally okay to let the president, the disgraced president, the one-term president, totally okay to let him run again.
As well. And Chris Dana is talking about the empathy. Joe Biden, before the president came in to the Capitol, this president also a very religious man, walking up to the table, putting his right hand on the table.
I'm a little bit loopy tonight, so forgive me. I used to have a limo business back in Seattle. And one day, an officer responding to a scene, somehow he was jumping from one side of the freeway to the other. And the belief is that his gun, he had a rifle, somehow caught, as he was jumping, caught the freeway wall. And he plummeted from the trestle to his demise. I drove the family in one of the limos. I want to say we donated. It's not important. What shocked me and what this was not the city that I lived in. This is north of Seattle. This is Everett, about 30 minutes north of Seattle. What really hit me was as I was driving, we drove from the funeral home to the local baseball stadium where police officers from all over the western states and Canada had come. Had come to show their respects. And I started driving along and realized maybe a journey of 2 miles. But they didn't just go from the funeral home right to the funeral home, to the baseball stadium where they did the memorial service. The police officer said, "Just follow me." And the police officers drove right through downtown Everett. And the streets, the streets of Everett were lined with the people of Everett. They had come out of their office buildings, they had come out of their schools to pay their respect to the family of the fallen officer. I'm sorry. To pay their respects to the family. And when it really hit me and when it hit the family, when we rounded the first corner and started down the main street through downtown, there was a little boy, 7 or 8 years old, standing amongst the crowd. And he saluted. And someone in the back pointed it out. And we all looked over at the little boy, and he just stood there saluting the family of the fallen officer. And the waterworks began, but I had to keep driving.
And then over his heart, and then going over to look at some of the flowers and really shaking his head, and you could, a collective sigh, I'm sure, across the country of grief. In a moment that, quite frankly, made me tear up. I cannot believe where we are, but hopefully we will get beyond this point to a much better place, Chris.
You know, speaking with the president about his faith, he keeps it very simple. Obviously, he's a Christian and a Catholic, second to ever hold the office. But his faith in these matters comes down to two.
It was a particular hot day in Seattle that day. Probably got up to 90 degrees. And I can remember 2,000 police officers from Arizona, Mounties from Alberta, police officers from across the country, all dressed in their dress blues, or in the case of the Mountains, their dress reds. In the case of the officers from Arizona, they had their dress, the sand colors uniform, whatever the dress happens to be. But the way the stadium is put together is that the sun beats directly on the stands. And the officers All of them. Every single officer at the memorial service stood in the sun without a break for an hour and a half or more. And to them, it was nothing. Related story, but not anything in particular, was one of the family members, his fiance. His fiance lived probably 2 hours away down south, and the police officers, the motorcycle cops, when she was ready to go, there was a wake at a local bar. When she was ready to go, the police officers said, "You got her. We're going to Lacey. You go as fast as you want to go." In a limo, in a 10-person stretch Lincoln Town Car limo. I was like, really? They said, yep. Keep it safe, but your town car, that's what we drive. So if you're, however fast you can go, you get her home, but you get her home safely and we'll clear the path for you. So they pulled over the freeway all the way, and the hour 45 trip maybe took about an hour. I got that limo up to about 120, 130 to the point where it's kind of floating, and I'm like, okay, I'm slowing down. But they just stayed ahead of me. They stayed ahead of me and behind me. And after about 10 overpasses, I thought, man, there's a lot of police activity, because we would go under an overpass and there would be sirens, lights, not sirens, just the lights, right? And after about 3 or 4 of those, someone in the back said, what's with all the police activity? And someone else said to the fiance, that's for you. Every police officer in the entire area knew from the radio that we were on our way. And so they dropped whatever they were doing. I don't know why I'm crying. This isn't even a sad story. But, and she wept again. But that's just something that they do as police officers. And the weird thing is that they live that life sort of knowing this could happen any day. But there's just no way that it should happen during the electoral count. And 45 senators have already decided, nah, not worth it. It's not even a criminal punishment. All it would do is say, okay, Trump, we don't think you should be president anymore. It helps them, gets them an opportunity for example, Abbott, the governor that we saw from Texas, gets him an opportunity to run not against Trump. Cruz ran for president last time in 2016, and he was the last one left standing up against Trump, if you remember. It gives Cruz an opportunity to run. I'll be back in a second.
Words, love mercy. And it is a very ample instruction, no matter what you believe right now. We are honoring Officer Sicknick because of his dedication to something bigger than himself. And it is the highest ideal in our society and our democracy. And there's so much pain in the Capitol right now. Mm-hmm. There's so much pain in his family. There's so much pain in his brothers and sisters who did the job, who there but for the grace go they. And the shame of it is if we don't learn the lesson and don't honor the sacrifice by getting to a better place. And we have not done that since January 6th. And so for those who want to honor the officer, good, you should. But for those in power who...
At Random says, it reminds me of the firefighter funerals in New York City after 9/11. At Random was living in New York at the time. They put calls out to residents to attend funerals because there were just too many of them for them to cover, and they didn't want anyone to have an empty funeral. And the people showed up in droves. A lot of human beings can be very decent people. All right. I think that's it. I'm going to go watch The Other Guys, or The Other Guys on Netflix before it goes away. Do something nice for somebody that you love. That's all. Be nice to a police officer the next time he pulls you over, or she. This is part of their job. But honestly, Brian Sicknick, the fan of the New Jersey Devils, it should not have been part of his. It's part of the Capitol Police Force. He's supposed to protect against terrorist attack. Oh, wait. We can end the broadcast, or I can show you a little bit about some video that Anderson Cooper showed a little bit earlier tonight. So if somebody wants to watch that, it's just video of the rally. You know what? I'm not even going to taint this with that. We'll watch that another time, guys. I'll go back to a shot of the memorial. I think we'll just leave it here, guys. I don't think we should end this on a higher note. There are some wonderful human beings, there are some terrible human beings. And one human being, whether he was terrible or not, I don't know. But he was a hockey fan, so he's not completely bad, no matter what. One human being gave up his life for our democracy because a president who had been voted out by the people of America just could not psychologically handle it.